I want to preserve this old, angle piece, whatever the hell you call this damn thing. And, made in USA, man. You don't see too many of those around anymore. This is just some starting fluid. And, just so it's chemically clean. Works very well. As a matter of fact, if you use starting fluid, wiped it down really good with some paper towels, where you got chips on your car where the paint is peeling off, the clear coat is peeling off, and you just shot something like this over it after you thoroughly cleaned it, it'll stay on there for years, believe it or not. Because I figure I don't want the numbers wearing off this thing completely where I can't read it. So it's going to have that nostalgic look in clear coat. Trust me, this works, man. It holds up for years. This stuff is better than pre-cleano, for crying out loud. That's why I keep it around. Even though it says upper cylinder lubricant, it's got so little lubricant in there, there's no fish eyes in the paint. I painted stuff on cars with just Rust-Oleum and prepped it with that stuff, and I got the paint where I didn't even Scotch spray it. I just got the paint dull, just using paper towels, and sprayed that on there with some primer first. Usually primer, but in this case it's just going to be clear coat right over rust. 10 years later, nothing peeled up, nothing. So it works. Give it a real heavy dose, one coat. That's all I'm going to put on there. Make sure I clean the edges over there. And it'll last a million years longer than it has already. And I guess if I would have done this probably 50 years ago, it probably looked brand new. But I can still read it, close enough, man. So I could care less, man. Good enough for me. And, I ain't going buying something in China Mart brand new again, you know what I mean? That's how it goes. So make the old stuff last. That old stuff in there. I'm making another shelf in there. I gotta paint up that wood, but make another shelf in here so some of that stuff can go off to the side. Then I'll bolt it to this side right here. So when I pull this thing out of that shed, I says, "Hey, what the hell?" Well, this little junk takes time, though. But hey, what the hell? And a lot of tools I got that I sometimes would, just got numbers on it, so you got to clear coat it. But if it doesn't have numbers on it, you know what you do is you get the chassis saver. This stuff here, right here, chassis saver. I got the black and I got the silver. That stuff, you get that on your tools, they ain't gonna rust. Even if they're rusty, you just dunk them in that shit. After they're chemically clean, it's gonna be on there forever, pretty much. Sucker's all restored. Good enough. Hey, the clear coat's gonna make it legible for many years to come. Whatever paint's left on there, it's good enough that I can see what's going on. So, gotta cut this piece out right here. What's going on top of that thing? That thing's like the Rock of Gibraltar. It actually it was mostly painted with some outdoor deck paint. I had some few bare spots, so I just kind of dusted it with some truck bed lining. And we're going to cut that out with the circular saw. Screw that sucker on top of that thing. It'll be done. And then it's going inside that little shed, and it's getting screwed to the side of the wall with some washers on the outside. That should hold it in there pretty good. Okay, that is one way overbuilt table, and did with that. I think that's an early 1960s vintage carpenter square, whatever the hell you call that damn thing. I don't know what the hell you call it, man. I use it all the time, though. It always sits in the shed back there. But when you put like in this, the screws go this way, and then they go that way, And then there's the same thing up in here, same thing up in there. And then this is all locked in here. So that sucker, and actually it's got paint on it, and that had a lot of paint on it too. That's roofing paint, and it's got truck bed lining over the roofing paint, and it's going to be inside. So I don't think that wood will rot for a million years, if as long as the shed holds up. And then when we screw the shed to this, and on the outside of the shed there's going to be some washers holding, from the metal shed to this. That's going to actually reinforce the shed more, because that little lightweight shed is tied down into cement actually, and then it's got shelving that's all braced up in there with car parts. And every time you put a shelf in one of these sheds like this, it makes them a hell of a lot stronger. As a matter of fact, the one I got in the way back, it's got 4x4s going up to the roof that are cemented into the ground that go across the support beam. And that one's screwed down to 4x4s on a foundation that are in there with a couple bags of concrete, like 160-pound bags of concrete on each corner. So even though they're temporary, man, they can handle hurricanes. But that's how I build stuff, overkill. And that's why, when you look at this thing, hey, the whole purpose of this is it's a fence. You close the door, it's a fence. It's not a enclosed structure, but it works good. You know what I mean? Well, that's the shelf installed in the shed. It's got just a couple screws holding it to the side, but it's all weighted down. It's in there pretty damn solid, and all this stuff was kind of just laying on the floor where it was kind of hard to get to. And I keep all this metal for a reason, because sometimes you need a little piece of metal. And why? Somebody goes, oh, you throw it away. Then you spend, by the time you go to Lowe's, and by the time you go there and get through the line, and by the time you come back, and assuming you find everything, it's an hour and a half, and I can be done with the project. So I keep the extra scrap metal around. So many bitches about my shed being all green like this. This is Florida. They get like this real fast. And what I do is I pressure wash them. And after I pressure wash them with soap and stuff, let them dry, I take the elastomer roofing paint that's water-based, mix a little bit of water in it to thin it out, and hit it with the spray gun. And they look like brand new. And they stay that way for about 6 months. And they're all screwed up again. But either way, they never rust. So, hey. But I can get my generator out real easy now. I just got to take the jack stand out of the way, and maybe the gas can rolls right the hell out. Before I was kind of like, going to move junk around. And it's easy to find stuff now. So, that's pretty cool. Took me, I don't know what it took me to do this, an hour. But, figure what the hell. I had this wood left over from Hurricane Irma. It's all pressure treated stuff. And it's pressure treated, painted, and truck bed lined, and it's indoors. It's probably going to last like 8 million years, as long as, nobody destroys it in the future.